this is Joseph Carlson, and this is episode 122 of Gaming with Grief, and I'm calling this episode, What If I Reviewed a Marvel Show? I want to remind you guys, though, that this podcast will hit my website, www.gamingwithgrief.com, Monday morning, 7 a.m. Go there, leave a comment, let me know what you think of the show. Or you can go to the Apple iTunes Store or the Google Play Store, subscribe to the podcast there, leave me likes, subscribes, things like that. Also let me know how I can improve the show there. Or you can find me at Just Little Joe on Twitter, or you can go to gwgpodfellows@gmail.com and write me an email and let me know how you heard of the show, what I can do to improve, if you have a topic or something, or maybe there's a game you want me to cover, something like that. That's it. So I'm calling this episode, What If I Reviewed a Marvel Show? Because Marvel has a new animated show out, newer, called What If? And from what I can gather, it's based on the comics of the same name. They kind of mix and match the heroes. They put them in different situations. The Watcher, which is like this eternal, literal watcher of the universe, kind of looks through the fractured universe and says, well, what if, the first episode, what if Peggy Carter became Captain Britain and not Steve Rogers? And there's been 6 episodes so far. I've watched 5 of them. And it's kind of a remix of these things. The second episode of What If T'Challa, who is Black Panther, becomes Star-Lord. And this whole thing, they remix all the heroes and the characters. I want to specifically talk about episode 4, which is called What If Stephen Strange Lost His Heart Instead of His Hands? And it is the idea that if you've seen spoilers for the Doctor Strange movie, or just comics in general, I guess, because I got to talk spoilers to talk about this episode and what it means for grief. So I have been trying a new thing where I do the spoilers at the end of the episode, but this is only like 30 minutes. And so what I have to talk about is kind of interwoven throughout the episode. So I'm just going to do the old school thing that I used to do and just kind of like spoil the episode as I go, because it's really the only way to talk about the episode. So if you haven't seen any of the What If shows, if you want to follow along or, at least get more out of, I guess, this episode, they're all very good, but go watch episode 4. This is my review of, What If episode 4. So basically, the premise is the original Doctor Strange movie was that, Doctor Strange was in a car accident, broke his hands horribly and wasn't able to perform surgery anymore. So then went and started learning about the mystical arts to heal himself, and then realized he kind of had a higher calling, and then eventually became the Sorcerer Supreme. That's pretty much the first movie in a nutshell. Sorry if I've ruined Doctor Strange for you guys. This What If episode, the what if in this episode is if his girlfriend, Christine, played by Rachel McAdams, what if she was in the car with him when he had that car wreck? And what we find out is no matter what he does, she dies. He studies the mystical arts, and instead of trying to become healed himself, he is trying to bring her back to life. He's trying to redo the events. He gets the Eye of I never say it right. The Eye of Amagiato. It's the time stone, basically. He's getting the time stone, and he keeps going back in time to that moment where he picked her up to go to this event where he got this award, where they're in the car wreck and she dies, over and over again with the time stone. I'm just going to say that because it's easier for me to say. Over and over again with the time stone, he tries to redo this moment so that way he can have her back. And after many failed attempts, the Ancient One comes to him and says, this is a fixed point in time. Very few things can undo a fixed point of time. Without this happening, you do not go study the arts. You don't study the mystical arts. You don't become the Sorcerer Supreme. You don't fight Dormammu that happened at the end of the first movie. This is basically an unchangeable event. And let me just pause for a second and say, I think, comics get maligned a lot for being hokey or corny or whatever. And I would like to say that, yes, it is a comic, it is animated, but the idea that I think is important is that, we don't know when death will hit any of us, and the fact that you cannot turn back time, what would you do to bring someone back? I've been strangely enough, this keeps popping up in movies and things that I watch, and it's very strange to see people's reaction to trying to bring back a loved one. I mean, Full Metal Alchemist, that's the whole premise of the show. I'm trying to think of other ones. Supernatural, that was a big deal in Supernatural. My wife was watching the early episodes of that. Demons promised the brothers that they could bring back their father who had died. You know, this idea of just turning back and being able to see the ones you love again. I mean, it makes sense to me, but to me it seems futile. And I think Stephen Strange comes to the same conclusion. He basically, him and the Ancient One get in a fight over his decision because he says, I can't let this go. I have to bring her back. He appears in this library. I wrote it down. I cannot pronounce it. It's basically the Library of Ancient Knowledge. There was someone there called the Librarian. And they said only through study can you turn back a fixed point in the timeline. So he begins to study about how to bring back the person that he loves. And what he ends up doing is summoning. He realizes that he can, through basically the dark arts that he's studying, he realizes that he can summon forth things from other planes and absorb their energy. And only through absorbing enough energy can he bring back Christine. And so he keeps doing this. It's great. It's beautifully animated. All of them are beautifully animated. I just think, but the colors in this one are kind of crazy, and it's bright, and they use a lot of distinct colors. You know, Doctor Strange is known for like distinct colors in the comics. But it's the idea that he's bringing these demons or creatures out of these dimensional doors and eating them and kind of turning into them for a little bit and then turning back to himself. So they're kind of like inside of him, ready to unleash this power. And he hears something, and the Watcher is saying something like, I could intervene and warn him, but he has to see that this is futile. Because obviously the Watcher just watches, right? The Watcher never intervenes. The Ancient One comes to him and tells him to stop. At this moment, it kind of cuts back to the night that he decided to go back and start the process of bringing Christine back with the Time Stone. And the Ancient One comes to him. Oh, he goes outside. That's right. So he flashes back, goes outside, decides not to do the thing. It's like a split in the timeline. It's strange. You have to watch the episode. So he goes outside, and everybody's like turning into black ooze, and their particles of black ooze are floating up towards the sky. And he says, what's happening? And the Ancient One comes and says, well, you did this. Because what happened is the moment you decided to carry on your studies and we had our fight, I split you into two timelines. I split the timelines. One of you, so there's two of you, can go study their research and try to bring back Christine. You are the other one who has come to terms with her passing away. You say right before this scene that it's been 2 years. You've come to terms with her passing away. You guys are going to have to fight. Because by these timelines, they've been fractured now, and they're going to consume each other. And basically, life as you know it is going to end because these timelines can't coexist. So you're basically going to have to fight yourself. And let me stop again and say that is an interesting way to, it's a comic book, it's flashy, all that. I've said that before. But it is a good way to say, hey, I have these feelings. I don't know what to do with them. That's why I think my wife and I decided to go to therapy. You don't know how to deal with what's going on. And I think there is always in me like conflicting things of, what if I would have done this? What if I would have spent more time with my mother? What if we would have done something differently in the hospital with our kid? What if I would have talked to my dad more about his diagnosis? He kept it secret from me, and I kind of had an inkling that something was wrong. I didn't know for sure. I could have confronted him about it. It may not have done anything. You don't know. But it's hard to sometimes reconcile that and come to terms with it, like Strange did in the episode. I think there is a part of me that I don't know if I'd want to bring my parents back. I think I just want, more time. And maybe if I could have done something, and, my kids as well. Maybe my wife could have gone to the hospital sooner. There's tons of things that could have happened. But yeah, I think this is a good thing in the episode of hey, you need to fight yourself, basically. And, if you've ever experienced trauma or anything terrible happening, I think we all kind of do that in a way. We all kind of, I don't think fight ourselves, but there's definitely feelings within ourselves that are conflicting. And I think this is a good kind of animated representation of that. And so that's what happens. Wong is kind of fading away in this oiliness that's floating up. And he puts a circle or protection runes on Strange. This is why I guess you have to go fight yourself. And Strange basically gets sucked into a portal. And his other self, the evil Strange, realizes that he's only half as powerful as he could be. And he needs the other Strange. So they fight. And this was really, really good because the evil Strange wins and absorbs the benevolent Strange and basically becomes this massive demon. And is able to bring back Christine. And when he brings her back, she instantly starts turning into this oily ooze that's floating away. And she doesn't understand what's happening because he's turned into this massive demon. And he basically has to apologize to her, and she tries to get away from him. He tries to use his magic because the world is literally collapsing on itself into a ruby or a pendant, like a diamond. And he's trying to use his magic to push everything away. He sees the Watcher again, and he says, "You can stop this," And the Watcher says, "I could, but I'm not allowed. I only can watch." And he said, but this could all go away. And he says, was it worth it? Was all this worth it for one person? Because finally Christine fades away. And Strange is left alone as the world's collapsing around him. And again, if you suffer from any kind of trauma or anything, whatever, that moment comes when like a breakup, this relationship is over. You have that moment where it's like, this is it. We're over. We're done with, or, like loss or, I've just been reading the news a lot. And apparently, without getting political, the U.S. military had to send out a notice to troops about suicide prevention. And that hit me hard. I'm not in the military, I don't serve, but the fact that our government would send a notice to service members of like, hey, if you need help, call this number, it's pretty crazy. And so, like I said, the episode is interesting. And I heard, I guess before I went into this episode, I heard like, oh, this is all about, grief. They're going to talk about this stuff. And because I think I read the intro wrong where it said the Avengers are stricken with grief, which I thought was weird. What do you hit them? And it was Doctor Strange on the cover of the episode or for the thumbnail. So it was like, what does he shoot them with a grief bolt? I don't understand how that works. But no, it was something completely different. I think pretty respectful. And it, again, animated. I think this is why comics do, in other genre fiction I've talked about before, in genre fiction you're able to kind of bend what people expect, or the expectations of people, and you're really able to put things in that you wouldn't normally do, So you're able to make a parable about grief and loss and do that in an animated way where kind of at the end you're like, oh, that was cool, Doctor Strange punched himself. Everything was well animated. The demons look cool that were coming out of the pit. But no, this is about grief. And I think it's a more central kind of story about, yourself and like the feelings you have within yourself if you experience something like this, And again, it's not just grief. It can be any kind of trauma. Again, when a relationship ends, I've had breakups before where you're like, so this is it. This is the end, You're kind of at the end of everything and you're like, oh, okay. I've been laid off of jobs before too where you're like, okay, my last day. Feels weird, I've been fired too where I've been brought into someone's office and said, this isn't working out. Well, maybe it's just part of my brain, but I think there's a difference between fired and let go. Let go is like, hey, this isn't working out. You know, thanks, but no thanks. Have a good day. You know, turn in your stuff, whatever. And being fired is get out. I was let go. I guess the same thing as fired. But anyway, we've all experienced those moments where you think, what is going on inside me? How do I take this in? How do I feel? What do I feel about this? And this was a good way for the comic to say, you know, this is messed up. You can't bring people back. This is a fixed point. I mean, that line she says about a fixed point, that's what it feels like. You know, when people pass away in your life, or again, something terrible, any kind of tragedy, a house fire, anything, you think this is a fixed point, you know? You probably don't think that at the time. But you have that feeling of like, can't go back from this, you know? This is something that's going to be with me for a while. And I think it was good to show the two halves of Strange. Like, you know, one of them just saying, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring her back because she's all that I have, you know? Which, funny story, I had this conversation with someone years ago. And it was really strange because she had lost someone she loved. And at the time, I hadn't experienced really any grief or anything. I tried to be respectful. Sorry, my dog is excited. He has a bone. Anyway, I tried to be respectful of her and things like that. But she said, I'll never find love again. And I said that made me feel very sad because I think everybody deserves to find love and deserves happiness. And I don't think it's, you know, her losing the one she loved was a fixed point in time. She can't bring that person back. But she got remarried. So she found love and is very happy. So it's possible to move on. You know, her husband, her first husband, is probably whatever in her heart, and she thinks about him a lot. But, you know, she found love, was able to remarry, move on in a way, and, you know, move on with the memories of her husband. And anyway, I'm saying that, like, it was very emotional watching it, and something I thought, this is just going to be a quick what if. You know, I did want to cover for the podcast. I thought, maybe there'll be, you know, maybe Doctor Strange did hit the Avengers with a grief bolt. That'll be interesting. He didn't. So I don't know. It was really good. I recommend watching all of them. But this one was really good, and I liked it. I think the next one's Zombies, which, okay, I've seen those in the comics. So the Marvel Zombies, you know. But anyway, this is really good. Again, it was my review of What If Episode 5. What if Stephen Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? Check it out. If you like to examine grief and things like that, you know, watch it. Just kind of open your perspective up. Maybe watch a cartoon. Maybe I haven't watched a cartoon in a while, or you don't care about Disney Plus. But check it out. So I think it's a little shorter episode. Of course, I did talk for an hour. And I did realize something with the last episode. I actually spoke very quickly. And I think I was excited about what I was talking about. And I was afraid my wife was going to come home early and my dogs were going to go crazy because they always go crazy when my wife goes home. And I was trying to fit everything into as quickly as possible. So I'm working on that. I listen to all of my episodes after I record them on my phone when they hit the feed because I want to get better at this and experiment. So I think that's it this week, guys. So I just want to remind you guys that this podcast will hit my website, www.gamingwithgrief.com. Monday morning, 7 a.m. Go there, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the show. Or you can go to gwgpodfellows@gmail.com. Drop me an email. Let me know what you think of the show there. Or you can go to iTunes or the Google Play Store. Subscribe to the podcast there. Give me the likes, the stars, things like that. Let me know what you think of the show. Or you can find me on Twitter @JustLittleJoe. And I've actually gotten better about, promoting the show. I'm working nights for the next couple weeks, and I'll just continue to share links and things on the social medias, the Twitters and such. So anyway, have a good week, everybody, and I will talk to you guys next week.